Hello and welcome to another 9-minute Bible study. Our starting point, Acts chapter 7. Let's look at verse 37. This is that Moses, which said unto the children of Israel, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear. Now, in our last lesson, we established how the children of Israel consistently rejected the Lord their God, going first into idolatry, and by the time the New Testament really came into being, a lot of self-righteousness. Now, the verse that we just looked at, there was going to be a time when the Lord your God would send a specific uppercase P prophet to Israel to minister to them. We already know from earlier in the book of Acts that this will be Jesus the Christ, the Son of the living God. What happened? Jesus, beginning when he appears at the Jordan River to be baptized by John, the heavens open up. They hear the voice, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. The Spirit comes upon Jesus without measure. And from that point forward, Jesus begins his ministry unto the children of Israel. Now, we can tie this to what happened with Joseph at the beginning of his life, and with Moses when he was in Egypt the first time. How they spoke to the children of Israel, and how their message basically was rejected. We could say this about the majority of the prophets as well. They spoke, they were rejected. But now, here comes the Son of God. Surely the children of Israel are going to believe the Son of the living God. Jesus arrives. He performs mighty miracles. He teaches with a power and authority that no one had ever done before. They saw healings that was never seen before. The eyes seen, the ears could hear. The dead were raised. They saw loaves and fishes turn into 5,000 plus happy meals. I mean, it was a major move of God. Yet what was the reaction of the religious rulers? Crucify him. What was the cry of the people when Jesus was tried? Crucify him. They took the Son of the living God and they crucified him. He was rejected just like the type Joseph and Moses was rejected. Now, with Joseph and with Moses, we saw God raise them up. In the case of Joseph, out of prison to the governor's chair. In the case of Moses, he saw the burning bush and he was raised up to be what? The leader of Israel. How did God raise Jesus up? By literally raising him up. God raised Jesus from the dead. So who is this Jesus? He is the one that God spoke about. We know this because God raised Jesus from the dead. Now, at this point, Stephen is talking to those in Israel. Israel, at this point, they are rejecting the Christ. That's why Stephen said in verse 51, You stiff-necked and uncircumcised in hearts and ears, do you always resist the Holy Ghost? This is what they were doing. The Holy Ghost was talking to them. This is why they were cut to the heart in verse 54. Only the Holy Ghost can cut to the heart. But what is happening here? They are rejecting the message of the Christ. Even today, national Israel, do they accept Jesus as Lord? No. But there will come a time just like the type Joseph and the type Moses, where the people accepted them, there will come a time when Israel will accept Jesus as Lord. That will be after the tribulation. And then at that point, when Jesus returns, he will be accepted as the Christ, the King of Israel. Now at this time, the people were resisting. This opened the door for something different to happen. At this point, the ministry of the church really wasn't to a nation in general. It was to people as individuals. Even when the gospel goes to the Gentiles in a few chapters, this message is for individuals. And when the individuals believe, what happens? They become part of this new nation or this new group called the church, the called out assembly of believers. So during this time, the church is being built. Once the church is completed, then yes, Jesus will return. Israel will accept him as Lord. Let's go to verse 52. Which of the prophets have not your fathers persecuted? Almost all of them. And they have slain them which showed before of the coming of the just one. The ones who prophesied the coming of the Christ they killed, of whom ye have now the betrayers and murderers. Basically, what? Did they put the Christ to death? Who have received the law by the disposition of angels and have not kept it. We've already read verse 54. They were cut to the heart. They gnashed on him with their teeth. Verse 55. But he, being full of the Holy Ghost, looked up steadfastly into heaven and saw the glory of God and Jesus standing on the right hand of God, and said, I see the heavens opened and the Son of Man standing on the right hand of God. We see what? Stephen about to be killed for his faith. But he gets the rare privilege. He gets to see the heavens open. He gets to see the glory of God and Jesus standing on the right hand of the Father. That had to be a wonderful sight, because what happened next was not fun. When they decided to start stoning Stephen and putting him to death, one of the people there, a young man whose name was Saul of Tarsus. Don't lose track of this as we go along. He's one of those on this day who was cut to the heart. Now, he does not realize it yet. But Saul of Tarsus, he's going to see Jesus, who will tell him, don't kick against the pricks. From this point until he meets Jesus, Saul is fighting tooth and nail not to be a believer in Jesus. That's why he's going to start killing them. But one day, the Lord will confront him, and he will bring him into his love and to his kingdom. And we'll pick up with this in our next lesson.